I just pulled the latest data on Roth IRA balances by age, and I need to be honest with you, the numbers are alarming. Not because everyone's behind, but because the distribution is so uneven that most people have no idea whether they're winning or losing terribly at this game. And here's what I mean. The average IRA balance across all ages hit $137,900 here in the end of 2025, according to Fidelity's analysis of millions of IRA accounts that they manage. But here's the critical distinction. That's the average. The median is significantly lower. And when we break it down by generation, the gap becomes even more pronounced. Baby boomers have an average of over $250,000 in their IRAs. Gen X, a little over 100. And millennials sit at 25K, and Gen Z, they're just getting started with about 6.6K. So when someone asks me, where do I rank? My first question back is, do you want to know where you rank, or do you want to be okay? And knowing if you're okay versus where you rank are two very different questions, and only one of them actually matters for your retirement. So today I'm going to show you both. You're going to see exactly where you stand in the rankings by age, but I'm also going to show you the 3 critical thresholds that determine whether your Roth balance will actually do what you need it to do. Protect you from taxes, preserve your wealth, and give you flexibility when you need it the most. And here's the tension we need to address, which is even if you're in the top 25%, you might still be making a costly mistake. So with that introduction, I'm John Norberg, certified financial planner, Norberg Wealth Management founder, and I'd like to welcome you to this latest edition of the Financial Prop Series. Alright, so let's start with the raw data, and I'm going to be transparent with what we're looking at here. According to Fidelity's Q3 2025 analysis of the millions of IRA accounts which they surveyed and manage, which includes both traditional and Roth IRAs, here's where Americans stand by generation. Baby boomers, born between 1946 and 1964, have an average of $257,002. They've had decades to contribute, compound, and benefit from multiple bull markets. Now, Generation X, born 1965 to 1980, averages $103,952. These are your late 40s to late 50s folks, peak earning years, but often peak spending years too, with college-age kids and aging parents. Millennials, my generation, average $25,109. We're buying homes, building careers, starting families. And Gen Z, born 1997 to 2012, averages $6,672. Most are just entering the workforce, but here's what's fascinating. 95% of Gen Z contributions are going into Roth IRAs rather than traditional. They understand the tax game early. Now, what you need to know is that these figures combine traditional and Roth IRAs. But the Roth component is critical to understand, because what Fidelity's data also shows is that Roth IRAs have become the IRA of choice, particularly among younger savers, and that divergence widens dramatically the greater the age gap. But according to the 2022 Federal Reserve data on retirement account balances, families in the top 10% of net worth have median retirement balances that are literally hundreds of times larger than families in the bottom 25%. And that gap has grown by over 700% since 1989 for the wealthy, while lower net worth families have only seen 160% growth. This tells us something crucial, that being average doesn't mean you're okay. It might mean you're in the same sinking boat as nearly everyone else. So before we talk about what you need, I want to show you what's possible with a Roth IRA, because the structure of this account can create opportunities that most people never truly grasp. With that, let me introduce you to Peter Thiel. Maybe you've heard this name. In 1999, Mr. Thiel, the PayPal co-founder and early Facebook investor, opened up a Roth IRA and contributed $1,700. He used that money to buy 1.7 million shares of PayPal at $0.001 per share. Now, 3 years later, eBay acquired PayPal for $1.5 billion. Thiel's shares inside his Roth IRA were suddenly worth $28.5 million. And because those shares were held in a Roth, that entire gain was tax-free. But he didn't stop there. In 2004, Peter Thiel invested $500K from his Roth into an obscure startup called Facebook. That investment, combined with subsequent moves in companies like Palantir, Airbnb, and SpaceX, grew his Roth IRA to over $5 billion by 2019. According to ProPublica's analysis of IRS records, Thiel's Roth jumped more than $3 billion between 2016 and 2019 alone, all completely tax-free. Now, I'm not telling you this story because you should expect to turn $1,700 into $5 billion. The vast majority of us just won't have access to pre-IPO shares the likes of which PayPal or the next Facebook could be. But what this story demonstrates is the power of the Roth structure. Every dollar of growth, whether it's $5,000 growing to $50,000 or $50,000 growing to $500,000, is completely shielded from taxation if you follow the rules. You pay tax on the seed, but never on the tree. And here's what's critical. According to a 2019 Government Accountability Office analysis, there were 28,600 taxpayers with IRA balances exceeding $5 million, triple the number from 2011. The top 497 individuals had over $150 million in their IRAs. Now, these mega IRAs exist because people understood the Roth advantage early. Tax-free compounding over decades creates exponential wealth preservation. So the question isn't just, where do you rank? The question is, are you using the right vehicle for the journey? So with that, let's get practical, and you're going to want to listen in because rankings are interesting, but they don't pay your bills in retirement. Fidelity's retirement guidelines suggest that you should have approximately 1 times your annual salary saved by the time you hit 30, 3 times by 40, 6 times your salary by 50, 8 times by 60, and 10 times your salary by age 67. So let's put some real numbers behind this, right? If you're 50 years old, earning $100,000 per year, Fidelity's guideline says you should have $600,000 saved. If your Roth IRA holds $75,000 and you have another $175,000 in a 401k, you're at $250,000, less than half of where you should be. But here's where it gets interesting. That $75,000 in your Roth is actually more valuable than your $75,000 in a traditional IRA or 401k, potentially speaking. Why? Because when you withdraw that money in retirement, it is completely tax-free, which, if you're in the 24% tax bracket in retirement, that $75,000 Roth gives you $75,000 of spending power. The traditional account, only $57,000 after taxes. That's an 18% difference. $18,000 you don't have to pay the IRS, and that's without taking into account any state or local taxes. But it's not just about taxes in isolation. Roth accounts give you 3 strategic advantages. First, no required minimum distributions. Traditional IRAs force you to start withdrawing at age 73, whether you need the money or not. Roth IRAs, you can let them grow indefinitely, passing them down even to the next generation. Now, secondly, you control your taxable income in retirement. This is huge for Medicare premiums, which increase dramatically as your income rises. A couple with $150,000 in taxable income pays standard Medicare Part B premiums. If you cross $212,000, the premiums jump significantly. Roth withdrawals don't count towards that threshold. Third, your estate planning flexibility. When you pass away, your heirs inherit your Roth IRA tax-free. With traditional accounts, they'll owe income tax on every dollar they withdraw. So here's the framework I use with clients. If you're in your 50s with $100,000 plus in Roth accounts, you're likely in the top 30 to 40% of your age group. But the question isn't whether you're ahead of your peers, it's whether you're ahead of your needs. And that calculation is truly personal. It depends on your spending plans, your other income resources, your longevity expectations, your legacy goals. And if you're wondering how your specific numbers stack up, if you want to see exactly where you rank and whether you're on track for retirement, the retirement you want, I've created a free personalized 5-minute retirement plan that I will personalize to your numbers via video just for you. If you click the link in the description, answer a few questions for us, I will send this video, again, tailored to your numbers, and it's completely free, no obligation. Now, with that being said, I want to show you a few mistakes that even high balance IRA savers are making in hopes that you can avoid the same. Now, here's where we separate the people who are positioned well from the people who just think they're positioned well. Because I've seen countless clients who rank in the top quartile for their age, comfortable, proud of their savings discipline, but they're making critical mistakes that will cost them hundreds of thousands of dollars over their retirements. So let's talk about that. The first mistake, they're not maximizing Roth contributions while they still can. The 2025 contribution limit is $7,000 if you're under age 50 and $8,000 if you're 50 or older. In 2026, those limits have just risen to $7,500 or $8,600 if you're over the age of 50, respectively. Many high earners think that they don't qualify for Roth contributions because of their income limits. But there's the backdoor Roth strategy, and this doesn't get talked about enough, so let me break it down. If you contribute to a traditional IRA and then you immediately convert that to Roth, it's legal, it's IRS sanctioned, and it's being massively underutilized as a completely legal and ethical way for high income earners to still contribute to a Roth IRA. All right, mistake number two, they're treating their Roth like a piggy bank instead of a growth engine. I see Roth accounts sitting in money market funds earning 4%, while the owner's 401k is in aggressive growth funds. That's backwards. Your Roth IRA should typically hold your highest growth potential assets because gains inside a Roth are tax-free forever, again, if you follow those rules. So if you have a choice between holding, say, a low-yield bond fund in your Roth or an emerging market stock fund, put the stocks in the Roth. You want maximum growth where you'll never pay taxes. Again, this is not tailored specifically to you as investment advice, but it's an idea. Hopefully it gives you some sense of where we can go with it. Now, number three, they're not doing strategic Roth conversions when time allows. So stop missing that golden window. It's the biggest mistake I see. If you're 62 and you have 5 years before you claim Social Security, this is a golden window for you to begin Roth conversions while your income is potentially lower. Those 5 years between 62 retirement and 67 Social Security are truly golden. Your income's low, your tax bracket is probably lower. This is when you should be converting chunks of your traditional IRA to Roth, paying tax at these lower rates to avoid higher rates down the road. Because once Social Security starts and once RMDs kick in at age 73, your income shoots back up, your tax bracket climbs, and the opportunity for that tax strategy more or less vanishes. Now, according to Vanguard's 2024 How America Saves analysis, the average 401k balance for someone in their 60s was about $270,000. But most of that is in traditional accounts. It's the ones who convert aggressively to Roth during their retirement years that have true control over their income and tax picture in future years. So let's bring this home with some specific action steps based on where you are. If you're in your 20s or 30s, I would strongly recommend starting to contribute to a Roth now if you haven't already, again, as a consideration. Even if it's just $100 per month, $1,200 per year, compounded over 35 years at a 7% annual return, that could be $147,913 tax-free. Now, the Gen Z cohort, they get this. They're putting 95% of their IRA contributions into their Roths, and that alone could be worth potential millions. Now, if you're a millennial like me, maximize your contributions. Get to that $7,500 annual limit and evaluate where you should use the backdoor Roth strategy if your income is too high for direct contributions. Also, examine your asset allocation. If your Roth has conservative investments while your 401k is aggressive, flip that. Put your highest growth potential in the tax-free wrapper. Now, if you're a little older, in your 50s, you get to catch-up contributions. That's $1,100 extra per year this year in 2026, totaling a max contribution of $8,600. Use these catch-ups. This is your last decade before retirement potentially, and every dollar you can shift into Roth now multiplies its value because of the tax-free compounding and withdrawal benefits. Start planning your Roth conversion strategy for your early 60s, maybe even your early 50s, depending on when you want to retire. Map out the years between when you retire and when Social Security starts. That's your conversion window, and determining what that conversion window actually looks like with boots on the ground logistics and hard numbers, that's where a good financial professional can step in. And we'd be honored to serve as that professional if you need one. Now, if you're 60 plus, if you're still working, you can now make super catch-up contributions. Age 60 to 63 can contribute up to $11,250 extra to your 401ks this year, and this can be Roth regardless of your income level. In fact, if your income is over $150,000, you may be forced to make your catch-up contribution into Roth, whether you like it or not, thanks to Secure Act 2.0. All right, now if you're retired, try running a Roth conversion analysis. Calculate how much you can convert each year without pushing yourself into a higher bracket. Now, this is technical work. Consider hiring a CPA and/or a financial advisor like us who specialize in retirement tax and financial planning. Again, shameless self-promotion, I know, but it is exactly what we do here at Norberg Wealth, so we'd love to hear from you. Now, regardless of your age, understand that while 54% of Americans have no retirement savings whatsoever, according to the Federal Reserve data, you're already ahead of the game if you have any Roth balance. But again, ahead of average and prepared for retirement? Not the same thing at all. The median retirement savings for someone in their 60s across all accounts is $544,439 according to Empower data. If you're at or above that, you're doing well relative to your peers. But are you doing well relative to your needs? And that's the question that truly matters. So, where do you rank? If you're a baby boomer with over $250,000 in your IRA, you're at or probably above average for your generation. Gen X over 100K, same. Millennials over 25K, Gen Z over 6,600, you're ahead of the curve. But here's what I want you to remember. Rankings, they're just data points. They're interesting. They give you context, but they don't determine whether you'll have the retirement that you want. And what determines that? Three things. One, whether you're maximizing the tax-advantaged vehicles available to you, and the Roth IRA is arguably the most powerful tool in the entire tax code for wealth building. Two, whether you're allocating your assets strategically, putting high-growth investments in your Roth where gains compound tax-free forever. Three, whether you have a plan for the transition years, the period between retirement and Social Security, when Roth conversions can save you six figures in lifetime taxes potentially. Remember Peter Thiel from earlier in the video? He turned $1,700 into $5 billion using a Roth IRA. Now granted, he started a super successful fintech that skyrocketed that number, so you and I probably won't match that, but that's okay. Because you can turn $7,000 per year into $1 million or more over a career potentially. You can save yourself $200,000 to $300,000 in lifetime taxes using Roth conversions strategically. And you can create tax-free income in retirement that doesn't trigger Medicare surcharges. It doesn't force you to take withdrawals you don't need and doesn't create a tax burden for your heirs. That's the real power of understanding where you rank. And then, and this is the most important part of this entire video, doing something about it. Now, if you want to know exactly where you stand, and if you would like a personalized 5-minute retirement plan video analyzing your specific situation, your retirement goals, and your next steps, go ahead and click the link in the description right now. Answer a few questions, and I'll create that custom video just for you, completely free, no sales pitch, no obligations, just a clear, personalized roadmap showing you exactly what you need to do now that you've reached this point to help secure the retirement that you deserve. So here's my challenge. Look at your IRA balance. If you don't have a Roth component, consider opening one. If you do have one, are you maximizing contributions? Are you holding the right assets? Are you planning your conversion strategy? I'd love to hear from you, so please, again, click that link, send us that form, and we would love to be in touch with you about your needs and what retirement could do for you. In the meantime, I'll see you out there.